my name is Annie and I'm the current Publications Director for IFMSA, and today I'd like to talk to you about a variety of topics loosely grouped around the theme of what I'm planning to do after the end of my term as Publications Director. Now, when I was studying biology at high school, we learnt about the brain, and my favourite structure was the corpus callosum because it linked your left side to your right, it linked the creative side of itself to the logical. When I graduated from high school, I felt like I had to choose between the two. And so I ended up picking medicine because, frankly, I didn't feel like I was confident enough in the creative part of myself. However, all throughout my medical degree, I tried as hard as I could to incorporate creativity into what I do as a medical student, and I tried to encourage others to do the same. Through this, I discovered the creativity of my fellow medical students. I discovered that they were good at photography, so I decided to collect all of their photos together in a publication called Planet Earth, as you can see. Standing in front of it. Sorry, scrolling down. I also discovered that they were really good at creative writing. There were some really good writers around me, and it always saddened me to know that they had very few opportunities to write anything other than journal articles. It saddened me also, as Publications Director, to receive publications where people felt like they had to write it the same way that they might write for the Lancet, for example. Which is why I decided to start my own publication, introducing Antithesis magazine. Next slide, please. There haven't been any issues as yet, and to tell the truth, I won't have time to work on it until after my term as Publications Director is over. But I'm envisaging it to be an electronic creative arts magazine for medical professionals. It will not only include creative writing, but it will also feature photography and other arts. My aim with this publication is to get medical students to connect with their creative side and to enable medics to start communicating with each other like this. Now, this in itself is quite a substantial project. However, I decided to think more broadly about how graphics design can impact health. I'd like you to think about the topic of literacy. Now, we all know that literacy is an important determinant of health, and we take this quite seriously. There are loads and loads of projects out there that aim to improve literacy. One of the ideas behind this is that if people are more literate and more educated, they're more likely to understand health messages, understand instructions from doctors, understand basic concepts about how their bodies work, and so forth. However, instead of bringing literacy up to a level where people can understand health information, has anyone ever started a project to bring the complexity of health information down to a level where it is accessible to everyone? So now let me move from communicating with patients to communicating amongst ourselves, among health people. I'd like to first of all talk about the graphics that we encounter as medical students. Every day we're bombarded by flowcharts and by diagrams that we're meant to make sense of, remember and apply to new situations. But do any of these come in a fun and memorable format? As an example of what things could be like, here's what I created a couple of years ago during my oncology rotation. Next slide. Now, how about when we become doctors and we have to continue to educate ourselves through reading medical journals? Medical journals in their current form are boring, aren't they? Hands up those of you who have fallen asleep while reading a medical journal. Most of us, exactly. Now, what do they talk about in the first half of those articles? They talk about the methodology of research study, don't they? So instead of reading pages upon boring pages of information about how research participants were randomized into groups, how about if you just had this? Next slide. Now, you can understand the main idea of the study in a fraction of the amount of time it currently takes, saving time and energy, increasing productivity, and decreasing the potential for confusion. So where does this all lead to? Well, I already told you about the Antithesis magazine, but my dream doesn't stop here. My ultimate goal is to create my own medical design studio. This studio will not only feature the Antithesis magazine, but it will also create medical graphics, videos, animations for doctors, for medical students, and for patients. This studio will not have a physical location, but will be a virtual studio, where medical people from around the world are invited to collaborate, and you are also invited to collaborate. Now, you may be wondering why I don't just change professions and become a graphics designer. Some of you may be thinking that graphics design isn't a valid specialty or a career path. Why don't we just leave all this to professional graphic designers? For me, that's like saying, why don't we leave advocacy and medical policy work to professional politicians? Clearly we don't do this, and we don't do this because we have a passion for these areas, and because we also recognise that we have something unique to contribute as medical professionals. I believe that the same goes for medical graphics design, so please come and talk to me if you would like to be a part of this studio. Thank you.